There were all sorts of things swirling around. We were not a good team, we were not a cohesive team, we were a dysfunctional team.
We had some adversity with some accusations regarding player conduct in our community. So out of adversity comes opportunity.
But we were all sitting in the locker room and we had our uniforms on.
It was time. It was time to break away. It was time to look to the future.
And all of a sudden, Jerry would come in the locker room. Hey, I need to talk to you. And he started pointing guys out. So he took Larry Nance in the back.
He called me in and told me I got traded. And at that moment, it was like almost the worst thing that ever happened to me.
We then took our best player, Larry Nance, and traded him to Cleveland for a one-year rookie, Kevin Johnson, who was sitting on the bench playing behind Price, CORBIN, who was a bench player, a role player, and a backup center in Mark West, and a first-round pick.
Our most marketable player, our best player, Larry Nance, he was in his fifth year. He was like this.
I just didn't know how to judge it. I just knew that we were losing a tremendous player, Larry Nance. And I knew that I was losing some good friends too.
And Jerry really did what I believe he needed to do, really make a change.
That was controversial at the time.
The people didn't want me out of town on the first train at midnight. They wanted me under the first train at midnight because of trading Larry Nance.
We were actually in town to play the Suns that night.
You know, Lenny Wilkins had called and said, Mark, there may be a trade, but don't worry about it. You know, usually nothing happens with this.
It's about 4 or 5 o'clock. We're actually getting ready to get on the elevator to come down to get on the bus to come over to the game.
About 5 p.m. at the hotel, I get a phone call from Coach Wilkins from Cleveland. Says, I need to talk to you.
I went back to my room, I sat on the bed, and I was like, it's time to get on the bus, what's going on? And then Lenny called and said,
you know, there's been a deal made, you know, with me and Kevin and Tyrone.
Anyway, I go talk to Coach Wilkins. He says, you've been traded to Phoenix from Cleveland. You know, I tried to act mad. After he left, I was like, yes, yes.
I had already got taped. I had my Phoenix Suns uniform on. We happened to be playing Cleveland that night, and I was walking by Coach Wetzel, who was the coach at the time, walking by his office, and he called me in and told me I got traded. So I just took my clothes off and went home, and my wife was at home, and Lenny Wilkins called to welcome me to the team because I had left. And she was like, yeah, if anybody knew Larry, they would know he's at the game. And she hung up on it. And then like 2 minutes later, I walk in the house and she was like, what are you doing here? I said, well, I just got traded. Well, she said, I think I hung up on your coach.
In Cleveland, we had struggled for so long, and then we finally turned it around. We finally became a pretty good team.
we were all shocked, I mean, to hear about the trade, first of all, because we thought we were becoming such a good group of guys in Cleveland. We were getting competitive, we were young together, and we were just looking forward to keep trying to win games.
Now it's coming to Phoenix, where they'd had some issues or whatever. So I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Kevin loved it. Kevin was so excited. He was just giddy.
And then I was like, who's their point guard? I'm like, dang, I might actually be able to have an impact on this darn team. Then I get a phone call from this raspy guy named Cotton Fitzsimmons. KJ, this is Cotton. I'm gonna give you the ball and we're gonna go as far as you take us. So it's a good day for me.
We end up going to the game, sitting up with Jerry COLANGELO. Why did you make the trade? He says, because I really wanted you guys here.
And we're watching our old team play against our new team, and it was just an interesting dynamic. But Cotton and Jerry really tried to make us feel as comfortable as they could.
It was kind of hard for me initially, but after I realized and experienced those guys in practice a couple of days later, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, just the demeanor of those three when they came in, how they just blended in right away.
We just kind of wanted to try and set the tone and play as hard as we could with the remainder of the season that we had to get through it, to get to the summer to see what would happen.
We're gonna play hard, we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna do things together. If we can do that, have that mantra of those three things, hard work, doing it together, you have some fun, you're gonna win.
Mark West and Ty Corbin, two of my favorite teammates of all time. I mean, we just had fun together, and they were the perfect fit for our basketball team. We needed that kind of injection into this organization that those three brought.
You know, Larry Nance, it says so much for him that Cleveland didn't feel like they got a bad deal.
During the offseason, we drafted Dan Marley. We signed the first unrestricted free agent in the history of the game, Tom Chambers.
They had the parts, they had the components, and if you'd have seen that Suns team after Kevin got here, they were fun. And I thought that'd be a good match. They had shooters. You know, we drafted Marley that year, but Jeff Horn second. They had some bigs in Big Daddy, Tyrone Corbin. So I loved the makeup of the team, really good quality guys.
And we went from 28 to 55 wins in the conference finals. In 1 year, that's what transpired. And that began a run of success of 50-plus win years and playoffs and all kinds of things.
The trade that Cotton and Jerry were able to engineer set the groundwork for the next generation of success.
Both Mark and Tyrone were mad at me. It's your fault we got traded. It's your fault. They didn't want us in the trade, they wanted you. It's your fault we're moving and leaving our house in Cleveland. Since then, they've thanked me for that trade.
He sold us out to Phoenix, but that's okay.
It ended up working out great.
One of the best days of my life.